Artem.
Hi.
It's a big week. How you been?
Yeah, been busy.
Been busy. I know you've had a lot of dogs this week.
Yeah.
We got time change again, so it's even later for you now.
Yeah, because I fooled everybody. I said that we will start in 9
Yeah.
our time. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's
But
dig
it's
in.
again by 10. What?
Let's dig in because I know it's late where you live, and this is going to be.
Uh-huh.
How do you feel about today? Are you excited? Are you nervous? What are you thinking?
About that topic,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Okay.
I'm sure that people who will hear that information for the first time, mm, they will have many thoughts.
Yeah.
And those thoughts can be very different from wow to no. It can be like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's dig in. Um, so I
So we're
put.
talking about games today, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And games, but I also, in my opinion, it's like tricking your dog. It's tricking them to think you want one thing, but really you're teaching them another.
Yeah. So then, why people play those games? I
Yeah.
guess we have that.
We definitely have that topic.
Yeah.
So, um,
So what do you think?
yeah, well, I just wanted to thank everybody for their patience. Last week I was traveling.
Oh, yeah.
And to everybody that follows me on Instagram, I appreciate your messages and support for the dogs and enjoying their adventures. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. I also wanted to say thank you to my friend Pete in Canada, who I spent like a half hour on the phone with him last week talking with him. He's one of the people that we're kind of talking about today who's made that transformation in his mind about what his dog, what he wants for his dog and getting him on the right path. And I just wanted to say thank you because he bought $400 worth of the dog side stuff today. So thank you very much, Pete. I appreciate that donation to our nonprofit. And yeah, so the topic for today, the games we play, Artem. Um,
Hmm.
and how you and I have come to realize what these actually mean to the animal. And I've spent a lot of time really working with dogs, creating working dogs. So
Hmm.
I'm just going to preface this by saying, yeah, like I get it. If your dog is a working dog, this has nothing to do with you. I still think that it could explain, some possible problems that people are having, even though their dog is a working dog and they don't, it doesn't quite make sense sometimes what their dogs are doing. But if your dog is a world champion agility dog, or your dog works for search and rescue, or your dog is a bomb sniffing dog, then you need to play games. I understand that, but we're talking about the dogs that most people want, and
Pet dogs, yeah.
yeah, and the things we have to do to create the best social creatures we can. So, what are some of the games, Artem, that you experience that people play with their dogs?
And I actually played in the past, and I've been frustrated because my own dog, she didn't want to chase things, and
Oh,
oh my gosh, she don't want to play. So yeah, I guess number one is throwing something.
yeah,
Most people doing that,
yeah,
like throwing anything, any type of object, any type of thing that we call toys from pet stores. So throwing to make that dog chase it and grab it, an idea to bring it back, but we will talk about it later.
hmm So throwing and retrieving, tug of war.
Tug of war.
Another one I
Like I
think.
guess I should explain that for Russian
Oh, please.
for those who from for my audience here, because when I first heard that tag of what is that? It's like playing with a dog, uh, having an object in hands, and dog pulling in a one side and human pulling in another side, like doing this. So this is tag of war.
Yeah. The other thing, I think a lot of.
Many,
Go ahead. No, no, no. What were
yeah,
you going to say?
say.
What were you going to say?
Many people wrestling with the dogs, and it's also play.
Yeah.
People seeing it as a play
Mm-hmm.
that they are playing.
Yeah. The other one I think a lot of people don't realize is chase, or they chase their dog and they get their dog excited
Yeah.
and they play some games, because that's the biggest thing, and it's something that like we you and I both love that quote from Brandon. It's that dogs expect us to think like them because it's all they're capable of, and we get into trouble because we expect them to understand what we want. And that's, I think, the big thing that we're talking about today is it's not our intention that the dog is getting that information. It's not what they're not learning from our intention. They're learning from their language
Yeah.
and how they interpret it. And that's the only thing they're capable of. So we can't intellectualize it. We can't make them more than a dog, because that's all they are. And the sad truth to most people is dog doesn't want to be more than a dog. Dog doesn't want to be a human. He just wants to be a dog and have his basic needs satisfied. And I think that's part of what we're going to be talking about today.
And also,
Yeah.
they doing that because of one biological reason, not having fun reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's biological reason why they doing what we are making them to do, especially chase, tug of war, and all other things also.
Yeah. The other thing that is those like Kong style toys. You know Kong?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of mental games where we're teaching our dog to use their mouth to get into something. That's another kind of game that I think people play. Is there anything else? If there's
Yeah.
others, I mean, sometimes I don't know what's up with this pro. Oh, there's some click to view comments. There we go. Sometimes the comments just show up. So if you have a different version, if you're a trainer, if you're a dog owner, and there's a type of game that you play, remember, this is a safe place. This is not a judgment. We just are curious about dogs and in the search for truth. So if there's a game that you play that we didn't mention or something, please feel free to share that in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys. So the first thing that we have, Artem, hide and seek. That's a good one. Hide and seek, where the owner hides. Scott mentioned that can create separation anxiety. That search for trying to find you. That's a good one, Scott. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. So, Artem, why do people play these games with their dog? And again, please add some comments if you feel comfortable. Share your story, why you play these games with your dogs, or if you're a trainer or something, please share what you hear commonly that people say, why they play these games. Why do people play these games, Artem?
I guess the most how to say, the biggest reason, as I am seeing it, because owners think that dogs enjoying that activities, that they happy while they doing this.
Yeah. So we would just call that love.
Yeah.
They think they love their dog.
Happiness,
Yeah,
love,
yeah.
having fun, all of that things
Yeah. So,
happening from human perspective
yeah.
when dog doing some kind of that stuff that we mentioned.
So a couple of the things we had written down in our outline was they're told to.
I'm actually watching. I'm not on Instagram, people. I'm just watching. We have big list, yeah, of things that we worked before
And we and
that
we
show
we decided
that
to
we
make
want to
this
touch.
a two-parter because it's a big topic.
Yeah,
So yeah, so we're going to preface that we're not going to come to a complete conclusion today, but we're going to dig in and give people some places to just observe and see what they think. So professionals and non-professionals. Can you believe non-professionals give people advice on dogs? I always hear that. My uncle, my cousin, my brother-in-law, people always have an opinion about dogs. Um, they did it with their last dog. That's a really popular one too. My last dog loved it. Um, you had mentioned it before. The big companies, big box store companies, make people feel guilty. Why that they, that this is what is the norm. It's how you solve behavior problems. I know that's a common one. My dog's having these other behavior problems, so playing these games will somehow magically fix this. They're having a problem with A and I'm doing B, and that's supposed to help.
yeah,
You said the dogs makes the dogs happy. Love is a big one. The dog itself loves it. I think something that most people don't realize is they love it, whether their dog enjoys it or not. Artem, you ever go to a field and watch somebody throw a ball and the dog is like done and the person continues to like walk and get the ball and continues to throw it and then encourages the dog?
I also did that.
Oh, Artem! Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah,
Chiama mia, Artem. And then one I think that a lot of people, I hear this a lot, is because the dog already has a lot of energy. The dog has a lot of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
energy.
One of the reasons to exercise the dog. Like one of the reasons why people play fetch, for example,
Hmm.
to make that dog tired and peaceful.
Yeah, yeah.
Many people doing that. Like they cannot walk uh, the dog 1 hour in the morning, so they throw ball continuously 20 minutes, and then dog is done.
Hmm.
And this is the how to say. This is how they solve the problem, but that they don't have time in the morning.
Yeah, yeah,
Sometimes this is the reason why.
yeah. And then Annie also had said interaction, language building, elements of the job, relationship building. So there's a couple other ones too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Good note. I hear that also. Yeah,
yeah.
like we interacting, we having communication. Yeah,
Oh, you're
also
definitely
that.
having communication. There's no doubt about that. But again, to me, it comes down to what the communication is and being
Yeah,
honest about that. I think the biggest challenge for some people is to understand that love or this relationship could be potentially leading into other challenges that they're having in the relationship. And that's hard. Nobody wants to think that what they're doing out of love is actually causing their problem. I mean, they love their dog, so that's why they're doing it in the first place. But again, it's our best intentions don't mean anything. That's what a dog can get punished for, get killed for, it's, be hated in the neighborhood for because our best intentions. So the questions I had, Artem, years ago when I saw some of Brandon's videos about toys. Um, does a dog understand? So I'm just going to put this up right here. So this is what is referred to in the, I guess, the predatory world. I don't know the exact terminology for it now that I think about it, but this is what has been referred to as the predatory sequence. Um, and the first thing is to search, which is also called orientation to movement, which has to do with the eyes, which is what the dog or the predator is using to find what where the prey is. They stalk the prey, they chase the prey, they pounce on the prey, they grab and bite, they kill bite, they dissect, and they consume. So this is what nature programs a predator to have so that they can survive. This is a skill. This is a skill that is part of it. What we've learned, and we're going to talk about this, is taught by other pack members, but the initial inclination to do this is something Yasan had talked about, and we'll get into him. So some of the questions I had, Artem, was, does a dog understand the predatory sequence as a game? As a game, the way we intellectualize it, is it play to them? These are some of the things that, when I started to have some understanding of the possible links to behavior problems in these games, these were just some things that I tried to come, again, the search for truth should start with no assumptions, right? The search for truth should start with no assumptions. So, is it possible for a dog to understand what they use for survival as a game? We're going to show some videos, and I'm really curious what people think the dog is feeling and learning while participating in these games. So I think that's a huge piece of it. I understand we find joy in it. We see them thrashing, and it's, oh, look, he's having fun. But if we can put what we feel aside, what, from nature's perspective, is that dog actually doing in this predatory sequence, right?
Yeah.
Because this is biological, and you look at why this becomes a problem is this last piece here, the consume. That's the part the animal's not getting that makes sense of this whole procedure. They eventually eat it. And when we do the game, they don't eat it. So how does that piece fit in? Do you want to read some of these, or do you want me to just read them? I always feel bad like I'm talking too much.
No.
Okay.
Read it. Go.
If you have a jump in, Lee, let me know. If you want to have a coffee or something, check back in. Check your Instagram. Are the dog's reactions and experiences the same? So is every single dog who's playing these games able to handle it? Are they all learning the same things? Did they come to this world with the same skills of interpreting these games? Are our intentions getting lost in these teachings? Or do owners even realize that they are teaching something when they do this? And that's something we're going to talk a little bit about how nature actually programs these animals to learn how that final sequence. Could the games be the cause of many dogs' problems that we are currently facing? Aggression towards people, aggression towards dogs, why dogs are being homeless in the first place, stress in the household, why your dog charges the front door, why your dog barks at neighbors, why your dog, when somebody moves through your house, the dog pounces. Like why your dog pounces.
In one sentences, reacting on everything, almost on everything, with a lot of energy, frustration, even aggression, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe let's clarify something that right now we're going to those videos. You want to show those videos?
I'm going to, yeah.
Yes, so right now we're talking about that piece of games where dogs using their mouths to chase and grab something or just grab and shake. So because we also going to talk about like wrestling, chasing dog, like
Yep.
yeah, all of that stuff. They have a little bit different things
Yep.
components. So right now we're beginning from most popular stuff that people doing with their dogs.
Absolutely.
So using objects, mostly I guess toys, to make dog chase, grab, shake, rip it apart, and things like that.
Yeah.
Using in a one sentence is teaching to use their mouths.
To solve problems. To solve a problem. Yeah.
Yeah,
So the last
yeah.
couple things, I'll blast through these fast because I know you like to get started. Our dogs eat out of bowls now. So do they even need to practice predatory behaviors? Does it help in their daily life if a dog eats out of a bowl to practice predatory behaviors?
No,
They don't need it for survival. So what's
and good that you mentioned this right now. A few minutes before we started, I've been thinking about it. So, for example, uh, there is another big difference between us. We are not killing nobody right now.
yeah.
We go into big, how to say, supermarkets, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
and buying food.
Yep.
We're not hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Most people not raising vegetables to consume them. So we're the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Um,
don't need to hunt or raise food right now.
yeah. Yeah. Um, this is something
And when
that
we play, no, 1 second,
no,
one
keep
minute.
going, man. Keep
And when we're
going.
playing, and when we're playing in that ancient thing called hunt, those people we call them hunters. They
Mm-hmm.
going and playing like they how to say they're generally hunting and killing the animals, but they doing that to fulfill some type of it's not for survival, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's still hunt and still kill.
Yeah. Yeah. They put the
So
trophy on. They
something
put the trophy
similar
on the
happening
wall.
when
They put the trophy on the
yeah,
wall, the animal's head, and yeah.
something similar happening when our dogs hunting.
Mm-hmm.
There is still aggression or kill component there.
Yeah. Well, and this is the piece that I was going to say next is
Yeah.
I've never experienced this, and as long as I've been working with dogs, which is 11 years, and I've dealt with clients whose animals have killed other animals, they never eat it. And I don't understand how we can make sense of this. If a predator takes the time to kill something, they eat it. So if your dog runs
Yeah.
out and kills the neighbor's cat and doesn't eat it, that's neurotic. That's
Yeah.
killing just to kill, and they have
Yeah.
no clear understanding of why they're doing it. And that's something to think about because that's not the way nature programs. It takes too much energy and too much risk in the wild to hunt. There's potential injury, there's an energy loss, there's a burn that happens. So if the animal is killing something and then not eating it, that is odd, and it's something to think about. And I don't, you know, go ahead.
And let's clarify something. So it's not it's not a secret for many people, especially for those who working professionally with the dogs, that dogs reacting on toys because of prey drive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not called having fun drive, spending good time with that object drive. So it's prey drive. So definitely It's like maybe, let's say, as a proof that we're dealing with something predatory. So it automatically means nothing playful happening. And also, I want to add about chase that that whole conception. I heard that also from Brendan Foucher for the first time, and in the same period, I found uh, Jason Badridze, scientist who lived with wolves. If anybody want to know about him a little bit better, leave comments below, and I'll post some article in English about him because he's from Georgia, post-Soviet country. So, what he found when he lived with wolves for the 2 years in the wild, that reaction on moving object, it's instinctual, how to say, base for developing predatory behavior. The goal is being like for hunt. It's designed for hunt, and firstly, pups reacting out of curiosity, but then they learn how to kill because this is how they eat.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk a little
So
bit. Go ahead.
reaction on moving object, it's not playful reaction.
Yeah. People are asking for the articles. Does he have his book that's in Russian? Is that public, or is that only something you and I have?
No, his book in Russian. It's published in post-Soviet countries.
Can you share it, or is it, or do they people have to buy it?
It's in paper, so it's no ebook.
That's right. He's old school, man. I love that. I love that. You know, like this guy has so much integrity. Artem and I asked him if he would come on, and part of the challenge is getting an interpreter. And he said that he wouldn't feel comfortable doing it because he wouldn't want anything to get lost in the translation. I mean, that's how much his work meant to him, and that shit is powerful to me, man. Like, so much integrity in what he did. I went to his seminar last year in June, and he's having another one in the United States, I think this summer. Um, he's really a fascinating person to talk with because he really has experienced a lot. Um, so, yeah, so that's kind of like, to wrap that up, that section up, that's kind of the questions that I started to, after I learned some of these things that Brandon was talking about, the potential link between
Yeah.
behavior problems, you know, I
Mm-hmm.
started to step back and I started to think, okay, what is it like, you know, what's a dog capable of? So this is the first time I've ever done this. I practiced it, but I'm going to do screen share. And I'm going to share a few videos. And I wanted to see, again, if we can step back and look at the predatory sequence here, because that's what a dog is understanding here. And let's look at what these animals are doing and seeing if we can actually interpret which part of the sequence they're in. And can we honestly say that this is a game to them? I mean, bigger than beliefs, because beliefs, whether you believe them or not believe them, neither one of them are truth. We have to really look at the results. So I'm going to do a quick screen share, and I'm just going to play these videos, and we're going to see what's going on here. We're going to talk a little bit about squeaky toys, but this one, I mean, look at the smile on that man's face before anything is even happening. He is so happy to play this game with his dog. And that's the part I think that's always most fascinating to me. Whoa, wrong video. Hold on.
I love you.
She loves her dog. Hold on. There we go. So squeaking and faking it and all kinds of interesting stuff. So that laying down right there is part of the predatory sequence. That's when dissection starts. That's when your dog lays down and starts ripping out his friend stuffed animal's eyeballs, ears. That's when your money starts going down the drain right there. $8, $10, whatever you spent for that toy, that's what's happening in their mind. So it's a lot of the same here. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Here's another one. What was fascinating about this one to me, Artem, was like how the dog just walks all over stuff. How bold they become when they're doing this activity.
Yeah. Because they have physical control over something and they being very successful in what they're doing. Do we have examples only with toys, or we have examples where dogs doing the same with rabbits on hunt, with rats on hunt?
You know what, Artem? I'll be honest with you. When I started to research, I went on YouTube and I started typing this stuff in, and
Uh-huh.
it made me very upset because I started watching all these videos, and it just got me. Like, it really did. It affected me. Like, the get him, Garvey! Oh my God, he's so happy! Oh, this is great. And then kicking the toy, and then watching the dog curl up on it as the person's trying to grab it, and then the dog spins away, and the person chases him, and then gets frustrated. Out! Out! And the dog's supposed to drop it, and they grab it, and then the dog goes like this, and then they throw it. And I just I just had to I was like, okay, I know what I'm watching here.
Yeah. You're already there right now.
Yeah, I'm already there right now.
But I like when I like when you fire up. Personally, me have no problems with that.
No problem.
I'm having pleasure seeing you being so
Well, here's the last one that I have.
emotional. Yeah.
Is this clip here? I actually used this in one of my videos. So there's the dissecting that we're talking about, right? The dog's starting to rip apart. Michelle likes that I get fired up too. And here's the thrashing.
Yeah, for those people who hearing that information for the first time, if you want, you can leave comments below, and I'll post videos where dogs doing the same with live animals.
Okay.
Mostly it's hunting dogs. So you will see the same movements, the same shaking, the same how to say, emotional state, same eyes, which like, "Ugh,
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it. I'm killing it.
Yeah.
I'm controlling it. I'm ripping that apart."
Yeah.
Mostly when it's real animal, and real animal have smell, emotions, show fear, pain, make realistic, real sounds. Dogs more engaged in killing real animal, but what we actually can see is the same.
Yeah.
It's
But
all. That's why I how to say. That's why I mentioned it prey drive. It's not having fun drive. It's a prey drive. So as for me, do you finish with videos?
yes.
So as for me, we like creating. Let me figure out how to say it in English. So like it's like we are creating that become a serial killer club for our dogs. It's like same for people. Like I don't know, somebody train another one person to kill, and they have all of that. Do you have that word in English? Mannequins, like looks
Mm-hmm.
like people,
Yeah.
and they teach how to use knife, like put straight on the mouse and rip apart in a bedroom, and using I don't know
Yeah.
what else. Yeah, using big plastic. How to say, for trash, big plastic
Bag.
bag to bring it out from home. It's like the same. We are teaching our dogs to be killers and expecting that they will not use that in real life. The same like if people having that club and they will, why he start killing? Interesting. Because somebody told him to do that.
Well, ultimately, this is what I've learned from Brandon is the only way they know how to do that is if you've taught them, right? The dog wouldn't know to go run away from you and chase something if you didn't start throwing a toy in the first place. Because the natural curiosity, which is what we're going to talk about here with Yasan, is when a wolf cub that he observed when a rabbit walked towards him, the wolf cub backed off because he was like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, you're coming towards me. That's scary, which is normal, right? We stay away from things we're apprehensive of. But why something runs off and chases something that
and
is,
and it's two different things. Moving forward with curiosity, and that means that nose is working like, and moving forward by using eyes mostly, and then when reach that object or person, using teeth
yeah,
to taste him.
yeah. And that's, again, goes
And
back
this is what toys teach actually.
And that goes back to the predatory sequences. When you're out on a walk, the dog orientates the movement. So they're searching, they're hunting out on the walk.
Yeah,
And then
yeah, yeah,
they're using their eyes, which
yeah.
is what gets a dog in trouble, is, searching for something that they can then stalk, chase, pounce, grab, bite, kill, dissect, but never consume. And that's why it doesn't make sense. So, so let's talk about what the purpose of a hunt is, Arton. Um, why do animals hunt? And it's a really simple answer. They have a pain, hunger. So they wake up, their stomach feels empty, and they're like, huh. They have a motivation to relieve that pain. So the part that gets lost here from what we do to what nature programmed is the actual need for it, which is to satisfy the biological end of it, which is to satisfy a pain, which is hunger. I'm hungry. That's why this happens. And that can make sense to them, and is also doesn't get you into trouble, because unless I'm going to eat it, there's no need to chase it. Correct?
Yeah.
So, I've never seen, you have a lot of stray dogs in the Ukraine. We have a lot here. Have you ever seen them throwing balls for each other?
No, never.
And they're living pretty okay lives, right? I mean, if they had a roof over their head, a little something from the cold, it could be better. But do you think they feel less like dogs because they aren't chasing some fake squirrel?
No.
They're chasing the real thing. Actually, they're mostly scavengers now, but going through trash at the local Chinese joint or something. But so, I mean, that's the part we have to understand, what nature programmed them. The purpose of the hunt.
When I see dogs play in tug of war, that means that they're trying to find out who will own that piece of something.
Yes.
It's not because they having fun.
Yeah. It's a challenge to figure out.
The one trying to get it from another one.
Yeah. So, and this is...
And actually can lead to the fight.
Oh, yeah. If it's, yeah.
Real fight with the blood.
Yeah. They do as much as they can not to, and that's what those competitions are for. Who's going to let go of the stick if we're both pulling on it or chasing? Who gets chased? So we talked a little bit about that satisfying of the hunt for the stomach, right? That completes the cycle. And what makes it not neurotic for the animals is to actually put what they're eating in their stomach. So I remember when Brandon was talking with me one time, he was like, he wasn't saying it to me, but he was just saying, like, in general, if you're going to throw something, throw food. Because then the dog actually puts it in their stomach and it completes the cycle. So if you're so desperate that you think you need to do something like that, then do something that the dog is going to eat, because that actually makes sense to them, to chase something that they put in their stomach. Go ahead, you're pointing at me, so you got something to say.
Yeah, and I also heard that from Brandon from one of his videos, and I guess another interesting thing here, that when dog chasing food, for example, cable, they're not using mouths in that way. They just get in it and eat in it, not ripping that apart.
Yeah.
Like they do that with toys.
Toys, yeah.
And in the end, it's actually how to say, a little bit knows more involved. Like they're reacting with the eyes, and then where that piece, like, oh, here it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So more like searching that food in the end.
Yeah. So let's talk about...
Very different thing from throwing objects.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what Yasan had understood. Yasan Badridze is an
Badridze.
Badridze.
Yasan Badridze.
Badridze. He's always working on my Russian.
Dze.
This isn't the time to criticize.
Zen Buddhist, like Yasan Badridze in the end. Dze.
Как дела? Okay?
Oh, привет.
So for decades, he has observed wolves in the wild, and then also raised captive wolves to be released in the wild. So he has a lot of experience.
And taught them to kill.
And that's the piece that is very powerful in his book. And this is what I had learned from him in the seminar. Wolves don't know how to hunt until they're taught by the group. So this is not an opinion of some person that read an article on Instagram or Twitter or even Facebook. Imagine that. This is a person who actually, I know. You know what, Artem? Not even a Google or a YouTube video.
Oh, shit.
Shit, I know. It might not be true then. But he actually sat in the wild observing these wolves.
For 2 years.
For years. And watched them raise puppies, and the puppies had to learn how to hunt. And this is one of the things he had talked about in the seminar, was the way they do that is when the older members kill or hunt something, they don't quite kill it. They bring it back almost kind of unconscious, still alive. And what they do is they give it to the puppies, to actually teach them how to kill. So they give them something that can't put up too much of a challenge, and then they actually kill it. And then they start to eat it. So they teach them what the end actually means, which is, you're hungry, this is how we do this. And it's a learned skill. So if it's a learned skill, are we really punishing our dogs by doing something that they wouldn't actually know how to do in the first place? That's my question. How do you feel about that, Artem?
Not friendly
Are you going to get fired
at all.
Well, I mean, and also some of the things he talked about, and you had mentioned this in the book recently to me, was, what does an excited emotional state mean in the group? How is that treated by the other pack members? So when the wolves are excited, and is that something that's beneficial to the group? Is it something that is rewarded?
No.
Well, get a little bit more specific. Don't just leave me hanging out here. You know what I'm talking about.
But it's actually, I guess, we have some maybe little bit of misunderstanding. This is what we discussed few days before, yeah?
Yeah.
That I added in a document, yeah? About excitement.
Yep.
Now, actually, and this is another part of topic, but let's touch it. I asked him about, is it okay for the dog to be so driven while owners throwing something again and again and again and again, because there is a lot of not only physical but mental mental, not pressure, but how to say it in English?
Stress?
Let me see.
No.
Let it be stress. Yeah, a lot of mental stress while that happening. And he said, of course, no. In nature, it's caused a lot to so they are not using their physical and mental energy with no reason to chase a stick or leaf.
Yeah.
Just because they want to have a fun. They have actually they rest all of the day, all day long after hunts.
Yeah.
So they're releasing that energy when they hunt.
Yeah.
So it's not it's not a good explanation. What I try to say, that to being hyper excited is not natural. It's like draining dogs too much, and we will go deeper in that, I guess, in the second part.
Yeah, because there's a lot of chemicals that are being released that over long term, from the studies that I've read, aren't beneficial to anybody. What's happening, because like you're saying, there's so many chemicals that are pumping in a dog's body or predator's body after the hunt, that when they're resting, they're relieving some of those chemicals in a natural way. It takes time for cortisol and adrenaline and these chemicals to leave the body. And that's part of the healthy process. When they continue to compound day after day, sometimes multiple times a day, people go out and play, these high adrenaline activities with their dogs. So somebody wrote, in the wild, energy doesn't come for free. I like that.
Yeah.
So animals naturally conserve energy, not expend it. That is, Jackie, 10 gold stars. Well put. I appreciate you sharing that. That is beautiful. Yeah. And Teresa, a little late, Teresa. Jackie already got the gold star. No, as Teresa said, the same thing. They preserve that energy for the hunt. Because it's hard to make a living out in the wild. But I remember, I think it was my uncle, somebody said that to me once. It was like a squirrel and they were grabbing a nut. And he's like, hard to make a living out in the wild. And it is, because you're getting, unless you're the lion, you're getting hunted too. That's the part that's so fascinating is, why a stray dog has balance is because they understand the world is their predator. Right? The
Yeah.
world, cars, people they don't know, other wild dogs. How do I find my food? Where do I rest? Where's my crew at? Is somebody else at my trash bin that I go to? There's so many things to expand their mind that their body doesn't have to do all these. They conserve their energy. So yeah, it's a great point. Is there anything else you wanted to add on to that?
It's like bad. Uh, no, it's not actually not bad. Let me say. It's a joke about it, like guy from poor country in Africa asking guy from let it be United States, is it really place where you going and working hard physically and paying for that money to others?
To go to the gym?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. No, for sure.
So people not going to the gym where they still working a lot by hands.
Yep.
And I guess that those people who live in close to Amazon River, those Aborigine type of people, they're not hunting for fun as we do.
Mm-hmm.
They're just hunting to get food.
Yeah.
They don't have time and energy to hunt for fun because it's actually also dangerous.
Totally.
Are we going to the end?
We're getting there.
We close to the end. We get into the end of conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting there. So one of the things here, I'm going to do a quick screen share again. This was something that you had shared in Yasan's book here. These are the places that when dogs play with each other, which
They
is
bite.
the most healthy practice for prey drive and social prey skills, is when they're actually mock fighting with each other. If you watch, these are the places they go after. Rear end, where all predators start, is attacking from the rear, which we know has a huge piece of walking for me. How I educate dogs how to walk is when they expose their rear. So this piece here is very important. This piece here, very, very important. Around the neck, the ears, the nose. I mean, these are all places that dogs, while they're competing with each other, because as Brandon says, all play is really just two dogs trying to figure out who's dominant without actually fighting. And then you look at what's underneath, it's the same place they go after. The part that is always most fascinating to me is the way they learn how to control themselves is by when they do this with other animals, not stuffed animals. They actually learn how to control their mouth. Because if they bite too hard, if they do something inappropriate, then there's a consequence. The dog either stops playing and is like, yo, nah, man, that's too much. And the dog's like, ah, right? Consequence. Or the dog then turns around and gives them the business back. So it's a way to learn how to do it socially. But they're going to do the same mock playing. Anything that you were going to add there?
Yeah, and what's the problem with toys? we teaching them to bite hard,
Yes.
and they will play with other dogs, and there is a big possibility that they will bite hard
Yeah. Yeah.
in those areas that you're seeing right now.
And then this A and B here. Do you want to explain that from Yasan's book?
Yeah,
This is
A and B and that right picture. So you mean right picture, yeah, with the
correct.
rabbit.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So first one, it's prey moving away from wolf cub. This is wolf cub, and he's chasing. And as soon as that mechanism, yeah,
Yep.
with it's actually that rabbit there, not alive. As soon as that mechanism moving back, we see how that cub backing off, feeling unsure, and showing all of that. How to say? So they feel and act differently when object moves. How to say it? My English finished for today.
Yeah, I know it's late. Towards the cub or away from the
Towards
cub.
or away. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, and definitely, if we throw in something, we teaching them to hunt
Yeah.
those things that's moving. I'll say it again. That rabbit is already dead, and he still have that interest.
Yeah. So to just kind of finish up, these are some of the things that I've, we talked about the predatory sequence. I'm just curious if this sounds familiar, if either it's you or you go to a friend's house or you see these videos on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube where the toy is being stitched up by a person, or they're picking the toy up because it's in 35 different pieces, right? So we give the dog a toy, they destroy the toy, and the sequence keeps going, right? And we have to understand what that piece of that cycle is. That's the part they do before they eat it. They pull out the pieces that they're not going to eat. And number one, for me, it's just so wasteful for our environment. Like, I mean, if we look at, we're all, here recycling and trying to be, this is what's going to get me fired up. We're trying to be thoughtful. I mean, I'm in Los Angeles, California. It's like hippie central, man. Like, if you don't bring your own bags to the grocery store, you're like, people are like, you don't have your own bags? You're going to use those plastic bags? Like, I mean, this is what I live with every day. So I'm getting a little bit more socially conscious of that, even more and more. But man, like, it just ends up in the trash and in the dumpster, and it's just so wasteful. But not only that, the waste financially, and then also there is the dogs that misinterpret that and do end up eating it. And that's sad, because then they have to have these huge expensive surgeries, and they ultimately pay the consequence for something they're just trying to make sense of. Well, I chased it, I killed it, you gave it to me, so now I'm supposed to dissect it and I'm supposed to eat it. And, that's part of the dog language. It's not something cute. It's not something that's you post on Instagram, oh, my dog destroyed the toy, 37 likes. Oh, mine too. That's a problem. It's not something that should be, applauded or justified. So that's just my little piece of it. You know how I get about that. It's just like, ugh. I see that constantly. There's so many starving people out in the world and so many things that we have going on, and people are spending thousands and thousands of dollars a year just giving their dogs something to destroy. It's like, for me. I don't know. Do you have anything for that, Artem? Or did I do that enough?
Let's summarize everything.
Hold on. So we have one last section here before Artem's final thoughts is, How does the predatory games become a problem when the humans get involved? How does the cycle become neurotic, Artem? Starting with the purpose of the hunt by nature. Do you want to
I'm
look?
not getting what you're asking me.
So the hunt part for dogs is natural, wolves natural. How does it become
Yes.
neurotic
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
humans get involved?
Because we making them to do it again and again and again and again and again, and then they become, how to say, the same way with another things which surrounds them in environment.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is there's no purpose to it in their mind because they don't eat
Yeah.
it. There's no consumption to finalize the whole cycle. So it's impossible for them to understand it. You just cut off a whole section at the end of what would complete the cycle for them, which is to reduce hunger. But it's like the people that go out and hunt that just ate a big meal, right? The dog ate out of the bowl this morning, so why they're chasing a tennis ball doesn't make sense to them. Doesn't make sense to them.
Yeah, and sometimes I hear that people saying, "So why then they doing it?" Because they don't have a choice.
Yeah,
Because that reaction is inside of them, and most dogs have that prey drive. Different level, but most dogs have that prey drive, and they will. All dogs have prey drive, but almost like most dogs will react on that.
yeah,
Even Camila can chase something twice.
yeah. No, absolutely. And the other thing you had written in here too, part of why they love it is the dopamine.
Yeah, dopamine.
Yeah, the neurotransmitter often
Can you
referred
can
to.
you read it? Can you
Yeah,
read it?
dopamine is a neurotransmitter often referred to as the chemical of reward. When you score a goal, hit a target, or accomplish a task, you receive a pleasurable hit of dopamine in your brain that tells you you've done a good job.
Yeah, and they become addicted of that emotion
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I did in the second.
because that activity change how they feel, but that activity designed to become a killer. So how that will be working for them to become pets?
Yeah. Ultimately, Artem, this is my biggest thing. Every time you go to the shelter, it's the behaviors that got the dog in the shelter are all of the predatory behaviors: barking, chasing, lunging, jumping, excitement.
Yeah,
Where did that come from? Where does it come from? Is it learned or is it genetic? That's the questions we should be asking. You know, and it goes into that live feed that I did a few weeks ago about that woman that was killed by her two dogs. You know, you get the people that start posting, pit bulls are great, pit bulls are terrible, this thing is this, and this. Nobody is asking, how did this happen? How did it happen? Everybody just has their beliefs, but beliefs aren't truth. And this is part of what I want to do with my nonprofit as I'm growing this thing is when things like this happen, trying to get information out of the people that were there. How was that dog's life? Did they play toys? Did they play chase? Did they kick their owner off the couch? Right? What was actually
yeah,
the environment this dog was living in so that we can truly understand? Because a dog, I mean, there's people that deal with human aggression and all of that stuff. I get it. But very, very rarely, like this much, have people ever seen a truly human aggressive dog, which means I cannot be fixed. I'm going to kill every single human that I'm around. So it only leaves one solution. It's learned. And whatever can be learned can be unlearned. And that's the part I think that most people are missing by calling it love and doing these things, is trying to understand, why is that dog in the shelter jumping? That sounds a lot like pouncing, which is part of the predatory sequence. So how did that dog learn to do that? So that to me is, a huge piece of what we're trying to educate here is whether you I don't want you to believe me. What I want you, or you, no offense, Artem, I don't want people to believe us. What I want people to do is actually go out and experience this. Go to the shelter and watch the dog's behavior. Understand the predatory sequence. Ask questions. What was that dog's life like? Who dropped that dog off? What were the games they played? Right? Like there was Brandon did a seminar recently, and the dog was chewing the leash. And it was like, remember I shared it with you, right, in our Telegram group? And it was like a 7-minute video. And what did he ask the lady? What's your dog's favorite game? She had an answer. And that's how you know this is a problem. Because if she had said, oh, I've never done that. It always comes back to my dog has a favorite game. And we have to understand what that's doing to their brain. So Artem's final thoughts. What do you have, Artem? It's that time.
Yeah, with games, it's like with everything else, we need to accept what's really happening. So if we're not accepting what's really happening, we're fooling ourselves, we're fooling our dogs, and we're creating problems. It's like, I don't know. It's okay. It will be no analogy. Like, it's not games. If it's called prey drive, it's about being hunter, being killer, being predator. It's not about having fun. So at least those two things that we dig deeper today, throwing something and playing tug of war, teach dogs using their mouths, and they will use it in not only in that situations but in many more. It's a big possibility that it will happen, and then we will be upset, and maybe for some dogs it will be the reason why they end up in shelter or being euthanized in veterinary. So we need to accept that the way it is, no matter if we like that or not. The truth is that this is not a games. We're teaching our dogs to be bold predators, but we asking them to live social life.
Mm-hmm. And what you're talking about, and some of the things we're going to talk about in the next episode, one of those is the common, is in English we call it fallacies, like the things that people say that justify the play, which is like, if the dog has control, if the dog, if I own the game, if I end up with the ball, all of these things. But this is the thing that I think we can end on, that I think really leads into the next piece, which is we're going to talk about the health problems, chemically, physically, that can.
And I guess we will touch emotional part of
Absolutely,
that.
yep.
And I guess not predatory problems, but like why your dog running
away from you. Exactly. We're going to get a lot more into the
it's not about
the ramifications of these games. So we today just wanted to get people to think a little bit more and understand what we're talking about. But this is one of the things I think we'll end on, and this is to me one of the most powerful things of many things that Brandon talks about when he talks about this topic is, when we think we won the game, what he always says is you lost as soon as you asked your dog to challenge you. So as soon as you asked your dog to tug on that toy, to chase that ball over a resource, as soon as you asked, because dogs only believe in hierarchy, as soon as you asked a lower member to challenge you, you already lost. And that's what we struggle with out on the walk. That's why our dogs are having problems running away from us. That's why our dogs are affecting our emotions and we're not able to affect their emotions. When we want something, we're not able to get it. And that's powerful because every single time you ask your dog to challenge you, you are losing in their mind. It's that simple. They're keeping score. We might not be keeping score, but the dog is keeping score. And that's what affects it time after time. So, anything else, Artem?
Yeah, and we will add that link where Brandon
Yes.
talking about toys, games in his interview, and that link already have time set. You just press on it, and you don't need to looking for that piece. It just starts.
I just shared it.
From that more. Okay, on comments, yeah.
Yep, in the comments.
You know, while you've been talking about that Brandon's quote, that powerful quote, is as soon as you start competing with your dog, you're already lost. We call it games, right? So all games, it's all about compete. It's all about the meaning of that word. It's compete. Like it's already have that competitive component. So it's if we're going deeper, we are not just having fun. We compete like football, basketball, chess, even chess, where physically we're not touching each other. That game, it's all about someone will feel, whoa, I win that guy, and another person will felt like, oh, it was not my day today.
Yep.
So it's all about competition.
All right. Go to bed, my friend. It's late for you. I know that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I just wrote a little comment here.
Yeah.
Please leave any comments or questions, and we will definitely get to them in part 2. If you don't feel comfortable because you know, sometimes like people are like, is this a stupid question? Then just send me an email, direct message, Artem and I, and we'd love to, share your thoughts because other people are having the same questions. And then I don't know how to pronounce this. Is INNA? Is that Ina?
Yeah.
Yeah, she asked if you could post the article for anything for Yasan. And then I will share this on YouTube. If you don't already and you want to sign up, you can go to thedogsside.com, and I share the link for YouTube, but then also a lot of the articles that Artem and I use when we're getting some of this content together, and especially this one because I did a lot of research on human psychology and the addiction to emotion and chemicals. So a lot of it we'll be sharing in the second part, but there's a lot of really good information out there about what the long-term effects of the chemicals, adrenaline, cortisol, and what's happening in the body. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll be in touch shortly.
And so next time we will go May 1st, yeah?
Let me just make sure. Hold on a second, Artem. Put me on the spot here. May 1st, Wednesday.
Yeah.
12 p.m. Pacific time.
The second part will be May 1st, yeah.
Sounds good, bud. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.